lesson we'll work on our IELTS writing task 2, and we will continue our brainstorming sessions. And our today's topic for us is going to be: some people believe that violent media directly results in violent behavior. To what extent? Do you agree or disagree? So they're saying, well, if we watch violent content, violent movies, violent videos, violent audio format, any content, we're going to become more violent. They're asking, to what extent do you agree or disagree? As you know, in this part, what you have to do is you have to talk about the degree with which you agree or not. What I mean is, you have to say fully agree or completely agree or partly agree, partially agree. You just have to give this extent. And now let's move on to the next part. Really, don't do it. Okay. Now pause the video and try to find your arguments for this opinion, for this concept, for this theory, hypothesis within 5 minutes, and then we will try to brainstorm together. And now let's look at the brainstorming session, and here we have to write agree and disagree. And now let's just start our part, and let's just say, well, we agree with it or we disagree with it, and why? Well, the first reason why you may agree with this opinion is that when you are watching violent media, you're just going to adapt to it. Adaptation to content, adaptation to behavior. And well, when you watch this, you're just going to take it for granted. You're just going to see that, well, it's a normal situation, nothing wrong with it, and you're because subconsciously you're going to get accustomed to this to this behavior or to this situation. And the second reason why I agree with this is that, well, it's just adaptation period. And what else can we say? Well, let's just try to discuss it more at more length, because as you know, from our early childhood, we just imitate to people. Adaptation plus imitation, right? So we'll just write imitation plus imitation. We adapt to someone, we imitate to someone. So if people watch it, and if people mostly children watch it, they're going to try to imitate to this kind of behavior, not only on a conscious level, but at least on a subconscious level. That's why I partly agree with this opinion. And now let's just look at the situations where we disagree with this. And the first part here will be rule of law, meaning that, well, you know that when you just do something violent, when you just mostly it includes breaking the law, and if you break the law, you're going to get punished because of that. And then you can just logically conclude that, infer that, well, people will not break the law, or people will not try to do this violent behavior, try to imitate to this, try to copy this violent behavior, because they're afraid of breaking the law and just creating problems for themselves and their close people. That's why I disagree that it's going to lead to violent behavior. And the next argument that I want to give is the next argument why we disagree with this opinion is humaneness. It's a level of humaneness that increased over the centuries, and virtuous. Because what I mean by virtue is that all the good positive traits of people. What I mean in this part is, well, if you are virtuous, if you think, well, people are naturally virtuous. You can just go read the Matt Ridley has great book on this, Origins of Virtue. Origins of Virtue. In this book, they just explain that. Well, he just explains that it's not only it's not. Well, people are not evil from nature. People are virtuous from nature. People are good from nature, and he just tries to explain the evolutionary and biological reasons for being virtuous. And the next part is humaneness. What I mean is, well, the world has been becoming more humane, more morality, let's just say, and moral over the centuries. And I believe that this is going to be going to continue. For example, 100 years ago, during world wars, it was okay to just force children to work or do some kind of wicked things to people. Now it's just totally not only legally but morally abhorring thing to do. Well, these were my arguments for this point. I just say that I partly disagree with this opinion. I just give my arguments here as my supporting arguments to my opinion. I just, as a concession part, I just give this thing. It's concession. So and now I hope you understood everything that I wanted to show, illustrate. And if you have any other ideas, any other arguments that I missed, leave it in comments and we will discuss it at length.